Hello, Mark.
Hello, Nick. Good to see you, my friend. It
Good
looks
to
like
see
you
you as
are.
well.
I love your
Hello,
background. So
Nick. Good to
mine,
see you, my friend.
mine as well.
Good to see you as well. There we go. Sorry about that little technical difficulty there. It is good to be encouraged, though, today and to join in with you. How's your week been?
Pretty good. When I see your happy face and you're smiling and encouraging me, welcoming me, I feel great. I feel great. A lot of people are going through a lot of difficult things now, and we're here to encourage them and to be true, to be present, and to offer everything that we have in the name of encouragement, of course.
Absolutely. So, has anything happened in your world over the last week, Mark, that you want to share about that might uplift us today? Something to encourage us?
Yes, I am traveling right now, and I'm not able to see my nephew, my little guy nephew. His name is Colton, and so it was good to see him on Zoom. Good to see him growing and trying to make sentences, trying to make sense of the world around him. When I see him, it reminds me that we're not here just for ourselves. We're here to pass on, to encourage and to support the next generation and the one after that. There's things like this. You cannot take your wealth or your material possessions with you to the next mission or to the next world. And that's what drives me. That's what drives me to give my best.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. How is the weather where you are in the world today? I know sometimes when I talk, it's really cold there, sometimes it's warm, but how's your weather there today?
It's brutal. It's almost like Florida.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, can you see my sunburn on my face? It's
I
gotta tell you
do see
everything.
that a little bit. Oh
Yeah.
my.
Mm. It's like this. Yeah, it's you gotta hydrate, drink a lot of water, and make sure that you're up and up on the hydration. Otherwise, you know, I almost became dehydrated this week because I just was spending a lot of time outside and I didn't drink a lot of water. And this is if you're watching us, Nick. So I want to encourage everyone to drink a lot of water because otherwise, who can you help afterwards?
That's right. You're exactly right there. And it's important to remember that if we want to be encouraging people, we have to stay healthy. We have to stay refreshed. We have to stay focused. Because if
Mhm.
we are going to be intentionally encouraging to people, we
Mhm.
have to take care of ourselves. It's not probably easy to receive encouragement from someone that is dehydrated or isn't sleeping a lot because maybe their energy isn't there. And
Mhm.
so it is so important for us to take care of our bodies. And I'm very excited as far as that goes.
Yeah.
When
What?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, like what kind of things do you do on a weekly basis, like, to make sure that you take care of yourself? What are your go-to tasks?
Some of my go-to tasks there are making sure that I remain hydrated because I have suffered from dehydration one time at a music festival. And I believe that I probably was close to heat stroke at that point. And that's probably the worst feeling of my life. So making
Mhm.
sure that I do that, but also making sure because, I'm a larger person and also, I do a lot of things that involve sitting, like playing the piano and working at the computer. I make sure that I'm out walking, that I'm getting my blood pressure up. I might not do that for long, but I make sure
Mm.
that I am mobile while doing that, or even directing the choir whenever I direct the choir. I
Yeah.
noticed the other day, I said, whoa, this is hard work. I'm getting
Mhm.
up a sweat here, but it's important for us to do that. It's important for us to be intentional so that we can be effective. Um,
Mhm.
yeah.
You
So,
know, One thing I kind of reminded me as you were talking, a lot of people have been asking us about the book, right? The Art of Encouragement. What is it about? When is it going to come out? What is going to be involved? How can I be part of it? And just, I mean, it just feels so blessed that it has resonated the concept with so many people. And we're working hard behind the scenes to make sure that we have a successful launch, that it reaches people far and wide, gets the book in the hands of the people needed most. Just a couple days ago, somebody sent me a message on one of the social media platforms saying, "Well, Mark, I have seen your cover and I like them both. I like cover A and B, one with a purple splash and one with a blue background." And he said, "Is this book geared towards adults or for children?" And I had to think about this. Who is this book for? So, Nick, how would you answer this question if somebody put this up in my messenger?
I think that's a wonderful question for him to ask, because I think that our heart is engaging people with their journey, regardless of how long they've been on it. I believe kids could read our books and find incredible wealth of information, a lot of wisdom, but also older folks can identify with some of the life experiences we've had and probably gain motivation and encouragement from other aspects. You know, they say that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And that's an old
Yeah.
Alabama saying. And I
Is that
really,
right? Is that from Alabama? Because I'm not sure. I heard it in Pennsylvania as well, but I'm just saying, I mean, really? Okay. I'm just,
hey, well, I live there too. Maybe that's where I picked it up. But I know that that's one of those phrases that really resonates true there. If we can go ahead and shape our young people to be
Mhm,
encouragers, if we can shape young folks on their journey where they're learning how to react, where they're
mhm,
learning how to fit in social structures, if
mhm,
we catch them while they are learning about anti-bullying campaigns and
mhm.
those types of things, we're able then to take that and leverage that equity of baseline knowledge and
Mhm.
just, I believe, catapult them to being proactive encouragers, because that's
Yeah.
what we need in the world. We need folks to root and to cheer others on. And so many times people just want to tear everyone down. And
Don't you just, get sad or, a little bit perplexed why this keeps happening? Why is this, we see people who are good and gracious and kind, and then equally we see people the opposite. And you brought up a great point. The lack of, like there's indifference, right? There's indifference, and it's like an infectious disease. The indifference is everywhere. Why do you think that is? And we had a week to think about this, right? I don't know if you have some additional insights on this, Nick.
I believe indifference is affecting our world today because we receive so much information at all times. If you look at your screen report of the day, how many hours are you staying plugged in and connected to information? If your screen time is 4 hours a day, 6 hours a day, 10 hours a day, imagine all the information you're receiving. And it's hard at that times for our brains to sift through it and to have a cohesive structure to all of that information. Now, we only use a certain percentage of our brains, but that doesn't mean that we don't have the capacity to be overwhelmed in our current application of the percentage of brain we use. So we have to be cognizant that sometimes if we have too much, we don't
Mhm.
process any of it.
Yeah, yeah,
And I
that is
think
true.
that's where the world is. And we're in a world where we don't want to offend anyone. And so some people may offer an indifferent response, but have deep
Mhm,
personal convictions. And that's sad that people don't have the freedom to express what they want to at times and what's on their
mhm,
heart, because
mhm,
people haven't been indifferent to them on their journeys. They've been judgmental. And
Mhm.
we want to be encouraging. We want to uplift people. And I think to uplift them, to sift through some of that. Let's encourage people, sift through some of that information. And if you're finding yourself watching a TikTok over and over and over, I might do that from time to time. You know,
Mhm.
ask yourself, is that really the best use of time and for me to absorb this? Is this what I
Mhm.
need to be putting into my body? Because what's going to be going out of it? What we think
Mhm.
about, we bring about. And
Mm.
you know,
That's so good. That is so good. Yeah. What we think about, that's what we bring about. Is this one of the Alabama sayings again?
no, actually, a prison chaplain named David Miller who encouraged me in some of my darkest days. And I had the pleasure of serving as his chapel assistant. He used to say that in a morning Bible study he did, and it stuck with me. I internalized that because whether in faith or just in real life, it's true. And especially for those that have those things merged like myself, it is one of our the things we have to keep before us, is that if we
Mhm.
think about it, just like with music, one of my platforms is how music transforms us. Music can
Mhm.
transform us negatively if we're listening to negative lyrics, if we're listening to things that idolize fame, fortune, money. We're
Mhm.
going to be left wanting if we don't have fame, fortune, and money. We're going to feel like
Mhm.
we got the short end of the stick, and we're going to isolate, and we're going
And it's
to.
gonna, yeah. Mhm. And
How do
it's
you
going to
feel?
poison our behavior, and that's gonna lead to the undesired effect that you wanted to avoid in the first place.
Right. So if you're listening to Don't Stop Thinking About Tomorrow, if we're doing that, or Don't Stop Worrying About Tomorrow, right?
Mhm.
And that's
Mhm.
one of the things we have to do. We need to listen to music with
Mhm.
positive messages and
Mhm.
encouraging messages, so that we have that mindset, that constant mindset of encouraging ourselves as well as others.
Yeah, I was reading a newspaper article on Wednesday about a local priest. He is in charge of local congregation, and he's also leading a church choir. Church choir, and he was just speaking very honestly, saying, like some trouble he's going through, and he said, "Well, if I go out there in front of the congregation and I have to lead the choir, and if I bring this anger or some leftover jealousy, it will affect the choir members, and it will affect the congregation, and it will affect everything." So he chose. It's interesting, and it's not even it's a different country, but he talks about God's love. He talks about love. He said, okay, so I'm gonna like no matter what he was going through, I'm gonna think about love. I'm gonna go out there and do my best. And I just thought, doesn't matter where you are in the world, it's the same thing.
That's it. Love will champion. And that's one of my
Yeah.
favorite scriptures is, these remain faith, hope, and love, but the greatest, the catalyst, the thing that will encourage more than anything else is love. And people know when it's authentic or not. And if it comes from a place where we're physically prepared, where we're emotionally prepared, that
Hmm.
love can transform, and both ourselves and others. And that's what we want. We want people not only to encourage others, but to encourage themselves along the way. And
What,
that
yeah. Nick, do you think that our book is about love, essentially?
absolutely. And I think most often or not, it's about agape love, which in Greek is the love that you don't do anything else for. It's that love that we get just because. And
Mm.
that's kind of like grace, but absolutely it is a form of love when we encourage people without any motive. That's true love. And
Mm.
that's doing unto others as we would have them do unto us. It's I believe it's the scriptures fulfilled. And if we want the world to truly be a better place, that's what we're going to do. We're going to encourage, and we're going to
Yeah.
intentionally seek out opportunities to encourage.
Yeah.
Uh,
As I was thinking, I know we have worked quite, quite, um, quite hard and intentional about the composition of our book stories, about the flow. What do you think is the perfect person who will need to hear the stories in the book? Who do you think is the perfect person? Just on the top of your head, like what are you thinking about?
Anyone born in the 20th century or 21st century needs to read this book. But really, I think those who maybe have given up on good in the world, maybe those who themselves have gone through a rough season and are
Mhm.
struggling to come out of that season, and maybe those who just relate to authentic stories and real experiences. I love reading true stories, and I believe that in reading the book people get a glimpse of moments captured in my life and in your life. And that glimpse shows into our heart. It shows into our motives. It shows into why we care so much that we're passionately doing this every Friday,
Yeah,
because others cared for us, we care for others.
yeah. Well, I mean, I just cannot wait for people to read the book and get to know the characters, the personalities, deeper, that has affected us over the years. And I know that people will appreciate it so much. That's what I just feel it. And it's just the early response from early readers that we have been getting has just been tremendous. So I'm encouraged, Nick.
That's awesome. What do you think your best response has been so far? You don't have to say who said it or anything like that, but if you could pick one response of someone that's read through the book to maybe give a glimpse of what one of our future readers will experience, what was their comment on that?
Okay, so this is in quotation marks. This is fantastic. Congratulations. When can I buy it?
That's wonderful.
That's the truth. That's the one I can hear and I can refer and I can remember.
And I think
Yeah.
one of the responses that just meant the most to me is she said that she could tell we wrote it from our hearts. And I think that goes back to that source of love there, where that is our strategy in this, is helping people encourage one another.
Yeah.
And how are we taught that? Some people aren't taught that. And
Yeah.
some in a world where everything is kind of fake,
Yes.
making
And don't you just
sure
hate that? Don't you just hate, when that's the truth? I'm moving around, but I hope you can forgive me. Getting myself a cup of liquid encouragement, which is coffee.
okay, that's a good kind of liquid encouragement. Yes,
You know,
excellent.
it's it's it, sometimes you just got to encourage yourself. You got to do little things for yourself, like you were doing before, a little self-care routines, and I do them all the time, Nick. Taking a
Yeah, what
walk.
do you do?
You know, where I live now, for the time being, there's this. Can you hear me okay here? Oh, no.
I can.
Yeah,
I'm
there's
gonna
this.
spotlight you.
It's what?
I'm gonna spotlight you again.
Yeah. So there's this forest, or like a little, like a tree forest, about 30 minutes walk from where I live. And I just love it. I mean, the energy, the air, the solitude, it just revs me up, Nick. I go there, I take a quick walk, I just meditate, and I come back home, with more productivity, with a better outlook on life, and it's been fantastic.
That is awesome. That is fantastic, my friend.
Yes, here I am doing the best that I can, and just having if you got a lovely, what it's. Remember we talked about what is this book really about? I think it's about loving the life that you have. And if you're not there just yet, we're here to remind you to find that love again so you can, encourage others, not to infect others with your love, but to encourage others to love yourself, love your life, and remind yourself how lucky you are and how lucky you are to be alive and just, do these great things and just encourage others. And I just can't wait for people just to get so just inhale the stories that we have collected, that we have wrote, the characters, the illustrations. Everyone on our launch team has just been great. I'm just so happy about this.
Absolutely. Well, Mark, I know that we're kind of going to wind down here in a few moments, but you gave me a situation earlier. Is it okay to put you on the spot and give you a situation and
Yeah,
ask how
yes,
you would respond?
yeah.
Okay. This week, one of the other ministers at the church I serve and that sort of thing mentioned to me an experience they had with someone given 2 months to live. And he went there and she said, I don't know what to do. When will I start feeling bad? And she's just at a state of paralysis where she's not feeling bad. She's not feeling any symptoms yet. And, you know, she doesn't know what to do. How would you encourage that person today?
This hits home. This hits home, and it probably hits home for many people who are listening and watching. Um, if you are in a position to be present for that person, to be present, saying, "My love for you is unconditional. I'm here for you. I will do everything I can. I will be present for you and for others, and whatever it takes, whatever happens in 2 months and beyond." Is just to be present, to offer unconditional presence and love. I think I would start there. I'm not a medical professional, so I don't want to, offer any other advice outside of that. Is just to offer unconditional presence to the person that may need it, who have heard this news. And just remind yourself of all the great memories you have created, all the great experiences you have lived, created, and there's life in that. There's life in that. Remind them about those. Remind them. You can make perhaps future plans if you feel in one way or the other. But I would just start with unconditional presence.
Okay. And that person's at the end of their natural life. At the same time, I'm dealing with another situation, Mark, where someone says, I want this life to be over. And they're talking about their life of addiction. I had this conversation with someone last night, and I encouraged them. But what would you say to someone in that situation as well, that they don't want the experience they've continued to have to keep happening? How would you encourage someone in that situation?
This is an interesting question, Nick, because I struggle with my own addiction. In the years past, one of my most public ones was the smoking, and I just went, like 2 packs, sometimes 2.5 packs a day, and I tried to quit, but it was like a jealous lover whose suffocating embrace I could not escape. There was always coming back to that cigarette, always coming back to that hit, one after the other. And I had to find encouragement to quit. I have tried to quit. It's like Mark Twain said, quitting smoking is the easiest thing in the world. I've tried it 1,000 times. It's you relapse and you go back to the cigarette. And it's to keep trying. It's to keep trying. If you still have, if you have this ability to stand up and wake up in the morning, you can try one more time. And your wins, your personal wins against the addiction doesn't have to be big. It has to be very small. Sometimes just measured in hours. That's a win. Another half a day, that's a win. Another day, clean and sober, that's a win. And you can measure those little steps added together, and you give yourself a chance to break through that addiction.
Absolutely. Isn't that what we say in recovery? One day at a time. And that's exactly how we take it, is one step and one day at a time. Thank you. I know I put you on the spot with those questions there, but often isn't that how it happens? So we're faced with situations we are not expecting. And it's, how do you respond in the moment? How are you present? Because that's what's going to make all the difference in the world.
Yeah, and it's what I believe we actually talking about this in the book. It's about presence. It's about presence. It's not magic. It's when you look at others and you see how can they be so present, not distracted, not future thinking, not living in the crutches of the past, but they're here and now. What a powerful statement that is. And we do talk about it in a book as well. So it's a learnable skill.
Absolutely. Well, I know it's about time for us to wrap it up here on our second edition of the Art of Encouragement. What are your final words and thoughts for our folks today who are anticipating the Art of Encouragement coming out on August 1st, brought to you by this guy and this guy? What are your concluding
life,
thoughts?
Yeah, your life and your work matters. Your presence matters. And while you may not see the full effect, or you may not see the desired effect in the time that you want, you can be rest assured that your contribution matters and you are loved.
What a better way to end. We do love you all. We thank you for watching the Art of Encouragement every Friday at 9 a.m. We look forward to seeing you next week. And until then, know that no matter what situation you face, love will get you through. Thank you again for joining us. Thank you, Mark, for your time today. And everyone have an amazing week.